If Sarper doesn't improve on the things that he promised to today, I don't know if I would marry him. Good sex is not enough reason to get married. He's upset. Dan is upset.
I don't care.
I'm embarrassed.
Dan is upset. Dan is upset. What can I do for that?
He's in my friend group.
I
He's
don't
one of my
care.
friends. What do you think?
It makes you look old.
Do you really think that you care enough about his concerns and everything that he is dealing with these days, or are you just being selfish?
Between meddling friends, old issues, and a little too much honesty, these couples are on the brink of disaster. So with their weddings fast approaching, both Sarper and Shekinah and Stevi and Mahdi need to figure things out fast. Now, let's kick off proceedings with Sarper and Shekinah. The last time we saw them, they'd just had a fight. They sat down to try and work through their differences, but they failed. Shekinah stormed off and things were very tense. But when we join them today, it appears as though the tension has thawed. So Sarper, tell us what happened. How did you manage to make up?
You see, I pushed your reset button, and here we are.
Yeah. But just because we had makeup sex does not mean that everything's okay.
Sarper says that he didn't plan to initiate makeup sex, but he just couldn't help himself. Now, things were tense for a while. They lasted a couple of days barely speaking, living under the same roof but not really talking to each other. So Sarper did what he does best. He used the tools at his disposal to fix the problem.
And I just sneaked to the upstairs like a tiger. I'm glad I have this.
Glad that you learned something from all of those thousands of women, Sarper. Good to see that you're putting those skills to good use.
So this move's called tiger attack.
Tiger attack.
You're a tiger and she is your hunt.
You're gonna get slapped.
Somebody call the police.
Now, it clearly did the trick. They were able to relieve that tension, and they can now spend time together checking out the view. But make no mistake, this hasn't fixed their problems. All they've done, as usual, is kick the can down the road. Like Shekinah's problems with Sarper, the reason they argued in the first place, hasn't actually been addressed or resolved. She still believes that he was cold towards her, and he unfairly took out his anger and his tension on her. So how are they going to get past this? If they want a successful marriage, how are they going to learn how to communicate and address their problems? Well, it turns out Sarper has a plan for that too.
Touch me.
Just show me that you're trying harder,
Touch
please.
me. That's the problem. When you don't touch me, you become a bitch. Yeah. That electricity between us. Yeah. You're smiling. I love it.
You called me a bitch.
We're the kind of couple that figure things out much quicker if we're physically touching, Sarper says. So in the future, if we're having a difficult conversation, we should sit close to one another and physically touch each other, he says. Now, in a weird, twisted kind of way, I do get what he's saying. I think what this boils down to is they need to reiterate that despite difficult conversations, even if they're angry, they do still love each other. And that's what the physical touch, I think, represents. It's a form of reassurance that the love still remains. But, of course, while the theory might kind of maybe make sense, in reality, in the middle of a heated argument, it might not necessarily be what you want. You might not want to be touched by someone. And as for Shekinah, she also isn't convinced that this is the solution.
If Sarper doesn't improve on the things that he promised to today, I don't know if I would marry him. Good sex is not enough reason to get married.
Now, I said it in my last video, and I'll say it again. I firmly believe that during the last fight, it was Shekinah who was the one being unreasonable. Sarper was the one that was making all of the effort. He was the one desperately trying to figure things out. The truth is, despite what she might think, Shekinah hasn't exactly been supportive of Sarper, supportive at least of his feelings since he's arrived in the States. But it is good to see, right? It is progress that when we next join her, she's finally doing something that she should have done before Sarper moved in. She's finally taking the steps needed to make him feel more comfortable in his home.
Oh my God!
That's pretty good.
I'm in business. I'm moving my practice to a new location.
Finally! Sarper can now stay in his own home without being booted out every time Shekinah has to work. Heck, he might even be able to make something to eat in his own kitchen. Imagine that. Yeah, it's a positive step, and in all fairness to Shekinah, her new workspace looks great too. Now, I am choosing to overlook the very unfortunate misspelling of her own company name. Not quite sure why the name on the neon light doesn't reflect the name on her website, but this isn't what catches Sarper's eye as he walks in.
There he is. Hi.
How's it going, man?
Have you met Daniel? This is Daniel Sarper.
Good to see you, Sarper.
Good to see you.
But clearly it isn't good for Sarper to see Daniel. In fact, it's super awkward. Sarper isn't happy. Just check out the side eye that Sarper gives Daniel. Now, Daniel clearly picks up on the hint and quickly makes his departure. And as soon as he goes, Sarper wants to know who he was. Now, Shekinah explains to him that he's just my handyman. But hearing this leaves Sarper feeling shocked and insecure.
In Turkey, handyman is a goofy guy, sweaty guy, messy guy, chubby guy.
No, this is LA, babe.
Now, just to add to Sarper's worries, right, he claims that Shekinah's looking beautiful today. I think you've made extra effort. I think you're wearing a wig to look good for this handyman, he accuses his fiancée, right? But Shekinah says that that isn't the case. Yes, I am wearing a wig, but that's just to give my hair a break, she says. I've been losing hair from all of this stress. Now, if true, that's a huge issue. It's not good to be under that level of stress. But Sarper doesn't exactly believe her. He doesn't seem convinced. Either way, he decides to drop the topic and instead focus on the sacrifice that Shekinah has made.
I moved into a much smaller space.
It's small but good. In Turkey, we say just like a butthole. I really
You
loved
just
it.
called my room a butthole.
Now, while that hardly sounds like a compliment, in Sarper's world, in his mind, that is a compliment. What he means is, it's small but cute. I love that you've taken this step for me, he says. I love that you've moved your business out of our home for the sake of our relationship. But while he may now have his living space back, Sarper still needs to find something to do to occupy his days, all the free time he has while he can't work. And it turns out, for now at least, that free time is being taken up practicing his stand-up comedy.
Woman is created after man. Do you know why? Because man is the draft of the guy. Woman is the superior model of man. She's the latest version.
Now, while Sarper might find himself super funny, his audience seem less impressed. Hopefully he'll get a better reception tonight at the open mic night that he'll be going to. Look, the truth is, Sarper can be funny, we've all seen it. But Shekinah has exactly the same reservations that I think we all have.
I mean, you always say I'm the funniest guy on the planet.
In the wild, you're funny, but I think that when you start writing down things you think are funny, it translates differently.
I agree, that's exactly right. Sarper is funniest when he isn't trying to be funny. The whole scripted stand-up comedy routine really doesn't play into his strengths. I really don't know how this is gonna go, and as it turns out, there's a whole lot of extra pressure in the form of Dan. You see, trudging alongside some of Shekinah's other friends, Sarper's arch baguette-eating enemy Dan has also shown up, and he clearly fancies the role of Simon Cowell. He's there to be the judge, jury and executioner.
I don't know if I'm gonna laugh, but let's see if it's good enough.
Oh my God, I mean, okay, I understood your friends, but what is Dan?
Now, it turns out Shekinah wasn't the one to invite Dan. Dan was invited by Josh, but the question does still remain. Why is Shekinah still friends with him? This is a guy that still wants to be with her, still apparently loves her, and is determined to cause trouble and stir up problems in her existing relationship at every possible opportunity. Like, that isn't a good friend. It's not a good foundation for friendship, is it? And when they go inside to wait for Sarper's turn, Sarper, noticing that Dan's there, decides to tweak his routine, do a bit of improv, to fire shots at Dan to try and make him the butt of his joke.
Let's imagine you are all sexually healthy and attractive men, okay? Even you, Dan. Just imagine. I know it's hard, but just imagine.
I don't know about you, but personally, I found that funnier than the rest of Sarper's routine. As I say, I think he's funnier when he hasn't got a script, when it comes naturally to him. But while I may have found it funny, Shekinah doesn't. She's not impressed, and it doesn't help matters that throughout the rest of his routine, Sarper continues to fire shots at Dan. Now, Sarper's whole routine is basically all about sex and his favourite part of himself, the part that he blames for all the bad choices that he makes.
Girls, almost all of you are getting some text when you are sleeping, right? Girls, don't blame us. We are not sending those. He does.
Funny, but for all the wrong reasons. Embarrassingly funny. Like, that's a shockingly bad joke, Sarper. Still, despite how flat his routine has fallen, Sarper is pleased and happy that he's gone through this experience. He had fun. Even if no one else liked it, he enjoyed himself. But it seems like he is the only one that enjoyed it. Dan isn't happy, which frankly I don't think Sarper could care less about, but Dan isn't happy, and more importantly, Shekinah isn't happy either.
He's upset. Dan is upset.
I don't care.
I'm embarrassed.
Dan is upset. What can I do
He's in my friend group.
I
He's
don't
one of my
care.
friends.
Now, while Sarper might not care, and you can't really blame him for not caring, the problem is they do have enough problems already without adding more issues onto their plate. Like, this is just one more thing that one day eventually they're going to need to sort out. It's yet more bad vibes, bad feelings, hostility, resentment that Shekinah might now be fostering towards Sarper. But, as I say, all that for another day, because another couple with plenty of issues is Stevi and Mahdi. After all of the trust issues that they've been facing, especially caused by Mahdi questioning Stevi's sexuality, they've now finally decided to draw a line under it. They've decided to move on.
I still love Mahdi a lot, and I know that Mahdi loves me. And so right now, I just really want to forget everything that's happening and just focus on getting married.
With only days left until they're meant to be getting married, they don't want to spend all that time arguing. Now, in a bid to save time, Stevi bought her wedding dress online. And since she wants everything to be perfect, she decides, in a break from tradition, to show her husband-to-be the dress in order to get his opinion. And that turns out to be a good thing, because let's just say if he had the same reaction on the day of the wedding, that would have been devastating.
What do you think?
It makes you look old.
Yeah, that's definitely not the words any bride wants to hear from their groom, especially when their groom is actually younger than them. Let's not forget, there is an age gap between these two. Now, Madhi goes on to say that where he's from, back in Iran, flowers are usually worn by older people. And Stevi doesn't really seem all that upset. Maybe she didn't really like that dress all that much anyway. She just kind of brushes it off and says that she'll wear something else, and it's good to know that it doesn't completely derail her plans. Speaking of plans, as with any wedding, a big part of it is the Bachelor and Bachelorette parties. So what do these two have planned?
We're headed to New Orleans for a crazy joint Bachelorette party. He has no idea how wild it can get.
Oh dear, what could possibly go wrong? Something tells me wild nights out and Madhi don't exactly mix. But it won't just be Stevi's friends who are joining them. You see, Madhi also has a friend who'll be coming too. A friend who lives here in the States now will be joining them too. But from literally the minute that they arrive in their hotel room and Stevi shares the weekend's plans, red flags begin to appear.
I think they booked us a burlesque show to go to. That's all I do know.
Are they gonna be like naked,
I don't know.
topless?
I don't know.
She might say that she doesn't know, but I'm pretty sure Stevi is completely aware that female dancers in a burlesque show are usually topless or nude. Come on, everyone knows that. She knows that. Like, I'm struggling to think of a worse idea, a worse activity for these two to go to. Now, Madhi doesn't have much time to dwell on this. He doesn't have time to sit and think about how bad this is going to be, because it's at this point that he needs to go and meet up with his friend Saeed.
We share the same background, same culture, and same country.
But he's been living in the US for more than 10 years. So he knows exactly how I'm feeling.
Madhi met Saeed on social media. They found out that they had a lot in common, including the fact that they both teach English. Now, perhaps because of all the things that they have in common, or maybe because it's his only friend here, Mahdi decides to share how he's really feeling. Like, he tells Saeed all about the issues that he and Stevi have been facing. And hearing the very one-sided account of everything, Saeed is concerned. I mean, who wouldn't be? Not exactly the best sign when someone shows up to celebrate a bachelor party, only to instead be inundated with lots of premarital problems that they're facing. So what are you going to do about this? Saeed asks.
What if after you get married, you just find out more about her past, more about what she likes or doesn't like? That bothers you.
And he even takes it one step further. He asks Mahdi if love can really justify all the pain that you're feeling. And talk about doing a good job of freaking Mahdi out even more. And when Stevi joins them and also meets Saeed for the first time, Mahdi realises that he might have made a big mistake. He probably shouldn't have shared so much. Problem is, there's not much that he can do about it now. So when they all head out for a walk, when Stevi and Saeed are left alone for a second, Saeed takes it upon himself to begin questioning Stevi.
Do you really think that you care enough about his concerns and everything that he is dealing with these days, or are you just being selfish?
Wow, Stevi's face says exactly what we're all thinking. What the heck? She's literally just met this guy. Who does he think he is? What right does he think he has to go after her like that? Like, not only is she shocked by what he's asking, but she's now also left wondering, where has this come from? What's causing him to ask these questions?
I'm trying to be as kind as possible to Saeed, but I'm also trying to formulate what Mahdi has said about me to make him feel this way.
With only days left until their wedding, right? On their Bachelor and Bachelorette parties. This is the last thing that these two need. Or perhaps, maybe it's exactly the right thing. Sorry, but with a fundamental distrust in each other, with so many questions arising about whether or not they even want to be with each other. Not to mention the fact that they've barely even spent any time together and now they're expediting their wedding. Would it really be a bad thing if it turns out this was indeed the straw that breaks the camel's back? Are these two really right for each other? I'm not sure they are, and I've got a feeling this burlesque show might just be the final nail in their coffin.